Marie, day 5. Welcome back. So today we only had one witness that we have to go over. And when I tell you, I would pick this man's brain for days. He was so interesting to listen to. And the man knows his shit. He said he had been a BCI agent for like 15 years when this happened. I would love to know the things that this man knows. All right, today ain't gonna be too long. I'm actually sitting outside the football stadium getting ready to go in because, you know, small town Friday night's what we do. So today we had the so-called smoking gun finally introduced, the bloody shoe print at one of the crime scenes. I'm not sure if there is more than one footprint. Maybe not sure. So today we heard from all-day BCI agent Shane Hanshaw, who testified he is an Ohio BCI agent and he processed the scene of Chris Roden Sr.'s house where Chris Roden and Gary Roden were found dead. As we saw in some pictures earlier, if you looked them up, these were the ones that the judge got mad about. There were bloody drag marks going through this house from the living room through the kitchen into the back bedroom where their bodies were discovered. It apparently is those streaks in the kitchen where the footprint is. So we spent the whole morning before lunch going over Henshaw's record, which was super impressive. And like I said, would love to pick this man's brain. And then we also went over bullet holes. And he went over all of his evidence markers starting outside of the trailer with a Mountain Dew can and some cigarette butts that all had Gary Roden's DNA. Then they went over some blood that was on the porch, droplets of blood, dried blood. That was also Gary Roden's DNA. And then he went over some bullet trajectories and some shell casings and partial bullets and things like that he had found. One going into a speaker. There were a couple shot through the trailer, and there was one shot through the trailer door, but it went through the screen door, but did not go through the main door, which led him to believe that the inside front door, if you've ever been in a house like that, they have like a glass door and then like a solid door, that the solid door was open, which is usually a sign that the people are home, and that potentially they had even let Chris Sr. had let Billy Wagner into the house before the boys came in to finish the job. Go to part 2. This is going to be a short one today. Got my little buddy that's going to the football game with me tonight. It is homecoming.
It's me.
It's me. We also talked about different blood patterns and established this man as a expert witness in previous trials that they have used for blood spatter and blood patterns. That is when they introduced the shoes, when they were talking about the blood patterns, and that's when they brought up the murder shoes. We've talked for several days now and brought up murder shoes. It's pretty well known. There's people walking in front of me. Hold on. It's crazy that it doesn't bother me for 1,800 people to watch this video, but God forbid like 2 people see me filming it. According to this testimony, when the crime scenes were processed, there were several bloody shoe prints that were found at 2 of the scenes, including Chris Roden Sr., which was in the kitchen. I assume the other one is at Dana's house, but I could be incorrect about that. The BCI agent said the shoe prints were the last piece of evidence they collected because it would be a tedious task to copy and print and document it. Apparently, I learned that they can't just like take a print of it. They have to cut like the flooring out. And he said he cut it out with a power tool and they put something on there to make it show up better. And that's how it's preserved. And they had it in the courtroom. We did not see it. We saw a picture of a footprint, but we did not see the actual piece of evidence. I assume because it was covered in blood. As we all know, we've talked about the murder shoes. Later on, when they did the investigation at the Wagners properties, they found a Walmart receipt for 2 pairs of shoes in a box named quote unquote important things in Angela Wagner's handwriting. And they have never found the shoes, and Jake Wagner testified that the shoes themselves were burned, which would make sense. Detectives took the date and time on the receipt and went to Walmart and looked at the security camera video and saw Angela Wagner buying pairs of shoes, and it was the shoe that Angela was seen on video buying that matched the same print of the bloody evidence. Now, the state has said that the 3 Wagner men wore 3 different sizes of shoes, but they have yet to say which one is which. There is a shoe expert that is listed on the never-ending list of witnesses that will be called sometime during the trial, and then I'm assuming they will try to pin the size and on George Wagner IV to prove he was present during the murders, because according to opening statement, and I'm assuming that when the defense gets to it, they're actually going to claim he wasn't even there, that he found out about it later at one of these family meetings, and that he was different from his family and he didn't subscribe to their ways. So head over to part 3. We'll wrap this up for today. Last one for tonight. So they did not cross-examine him because the prosecution did not finish questioning him, so he will be first on the stand tomorrow. He did agree to be filmed and audio recorded if I didn't make that clear. So he's a pretty good one, and whoever they have questioning him is much better than some of the others they've had in recent days. He's much easier to understand. They're loud, they're concise, and it's just, in general, just much better. So we'll see where it goes tomorrow with further evidence and if they'll move to a different house. He was in charge of scene 1, which would have been Chris Sr., so I don't know if there is a BCI agent that was in charge of Dana's and one in Kenneth's. I'm not sure, but we'll find out in the coming days. And here's the thing, and not because I've murdered anyone or anything, but because, as an avid true crime podcast listener, there's a podcast I listen to called Small Town Murder. If you don't listen to it, you should, but if you are sensitive and going to get hurt feelings about comedy about murder, please don't, because you're going to ruin it for the rest of us. Anyway, they have a few rules, one of which is don't name your kid Junior, and they have another one that is don't have a teenager in your hit squad, which is just sound advice in general. But one of the main things that they point out, and it's true for everything, is you have to think about the dismount. You can't just be like, fuck this, I'm going to kill these people and call it a day. You need to think about how you're getting out of there. You need to think about how you're not leaving shit there. You need to think about, not putting the receipt for the fucking murder shoes in a box called important things. Why don't you throw that in the bonfire with the shoes too, Angela? How about that? So anyway, apparently they are going to claim that George IV wasn't there, that he wasn't in agreement with his family, that he did not subscribe to the same things that his family did, and that he did not agree with this cult-like environment that they had created for themselves, and that he was not involved. I find that extremely hard to believe, but I guess crazier things have happened. Also, for anybody who's morbidly curious and who's from Pike County that knew who I was talking about when I was talking about Skid Montgomery yesterday, for the love of God, please don't take that the wrong way, because I would like to live. And, I don't know him, and I don't know, people do stupid stuff when you talk shit about him. But I did post a video that I took back in November of 2018, I think, of Charlie Reeder arresting my neighbor because he was standing there while the house was being searched and decided he wanted to charge the sheriff and choke him when there were like 8 other cops around. And if you listen carefully, you can hear Charlie Reeder yelling at him and telling him he's being arrested. So anyway, if you have any questions, comments, feedback, whatever, leave it in the comments down below. I will see you tomorrow, Monday.